Hello everyone, this is the Good Captain, and welcome to part 8 in my playthrough of the Battle of Coral Sea. Of course, this is the Midway Guadalcanal game system by Avalon Hill from the early 90s, so we're just going to get right into it. First off, I forgot to flip the Japanese scout aircraft to the patrol side on the air return phase there, so we do that now. Next, we roll for Side A, Side B on turn 3 of May 5th. We'll start with the Allies. They roll a 9 and the Japanese roll a 4. So the Japanese will retain Side B and the Allies will retain Side A. And this turn, the Allied side is going to create scout area units. This is a rule that I haven't spoken about very much, but we're going to talk about now. It's Rule 15C, that's the rule in question, and essentially you can create scout area units by placing one-hit markers on their parent units. This can be best just by showing you how this works. So in the manual you can use, just after Rule 15C, it shows you which class of units creates which scouts, and the type of torpedo bomber we're using doesn't allow for scout creation. However, the dive bomber units do. So we will create any of these scouts will do. We can use, each parent unit can create up to 2 scouts. We're going to make one each from one parent unit on each carrier. If that doesn't make sense, I'll just show you this, how this works right now. So, let's zoom all the way in. So we got bombing 2 and scouting 2 on the Lexington. So we're going to mark one hit on bombing 2 here. Okay, so there's bombing 2. Okay, and in return, we get to create a scout. So we can pull any of these out, M, N, O, P, and Q, or R, R, S, S, and T, T. So we just pull M and N off the palette because we're going to make one out of bombing 5 in the Yorktown as well. And the reason we're doing this is because we need more scout aircraft. Okay? The Allies have a poverty of scouting aircraft, and especially we have no land-based aircraft and no ability to patrol. So the only thing we can do is what I've just shown you here. Now, these one-hit markers are going to be labeled scout, and the reason we're doing this is because you cannot repair this one hit. This type of one-hit marker cannot be repaired overnight. Okay, and it's for obvious reasons. We're actually sectioning off a few dive bombers and refitting them and calibrating them as scouts. So if we want that one hit to go away, we have to apply one of the scouts to that one hit to make it go away. Okay, that's all a part of Rule 15C if you wanted to look that up. And that's all a part of the assembly step. This is kosher. Right here it says assembly step. You create new scout air units, then take off all air units that are to fly. And our old contact means that at the end of this turn, this task force could be 8 hexes away from where it was. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so if they wanted a direct line to Port Moresby, closest they could be is probably around E7 this turn. So we're going to delay one more turn before we, at least one more turn, probably 2 if we can get away with it, before we do anything, take any action, any major aerial actions against the enemy. Again, we're basically fighting blind. The Japanese have the land-based air advantage, and those scouts are really showing their lethality, and the lack thereof on the Allied side is showing their deficiency. But we know there's only one Japanese scout in the air, so we're going to try to befuddle that Japanese scout and try to, if we're lucky, we might not have both of our fleets spotted, so we'll keep them separated for one more turn and just sort of risk that the Japanese don't have carriers close enough to launch. So if they were in E7, yeah, we'll pull back. Yep. So on the operations card, we're going to launch both fighters into the high cat boxes. High cat box of Task Force 11. Okay. And everyone else is going to stay put. On the Japanese side, oh, we forgot to land Shoho's fighters last turn, didn't we? And then we'll just launch a single fighter group over the carriers. Excuse me. Okay, so that's it for the Japanese. Right. Okay, now we move to the ready step, and we're just going to move these two fighters on the Yorktown over into the ready box, and everyone else is going to stay put. And on the Japanese side, we're just going to move these scout air units over to the ready on Lei and Rabaul. And the previous combat air patrol. Okay. Now we do move to the sea movement step, and we're just going to move each of these task forces back one space. We could move two. It's a turn where any ships with movement of 2 or 3, as long as all ships in the task force have a movement of 2 or 3, they can move 2 spaces on the search board. But we're just going to move 1 space backwards. And that's assuming, like, if in the worst case scenario, if the Japanese fleet was here in E7, they would be able to get an attack off, but it wouldn't be a max strike, and we're outside of the range of land air. So this is just sort of being a little bit cautious, but we're going to play a little bit more of an aggressive hand, I think, as the Allied player in the next 2 turns. Japanese are going to move 2 spaces. We're going to move to F4 and G5 and start to sort of hook around the flank of this position here. Okay, and now we move to the air movement and search step, so we'll do the Allied side first. And this is pretty easy. We're just going to send 1 combat air patrol over Task Force 16 so that we might try to catch that snooping Japanese scout. Okay. And then on the Japanese side, we are just going to try to locate or relocate the whereabouts of these 2 fleets. Okay, so since this is a turn where both Allied fleets we know can move up to 2 spaces, by necessity, we need to cover the forward hexes. Like, we want to give knowledge to our sighting report, basically, to our strike force. Is there enemy closing our position? Worst case scenario is they moved 2 spaces to Rossel Island here in H8. That would mean that they will definitely be within strike range next turn. Or, that could be best case scenario too, worst or best. So first we need to search the hex that we're in, right? So G9, there's nothing there, okay? We have 7 more spaces to go, and we need to search all the way the outer arc to J9, and then the inner arc from J10 to G10. So this is going to take all our movement just to clear out these hexes. So G9, H8, I9, 3, J9, J10, I10, so that's 6, and then H9, G10, 7, 8, and we didn't find anything. Okay, so actually I might have messed this up. Yeah, we can't search that far. We can't stay out this turn, so we're already flipped to our patrol side. We need to make sure we end within 8 hexes of a base. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's see. This is pretty easy. It just means we couldn't search G10. We would have had to start in G9 and essentially end in G9. Oh no, I can see how this works. We should have done it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Boom, done. Okay, so that was our search pattern. It resulted in no contacts. So we know that the Americans didn't push forward. They either pushed west or along the board edge at the bottom. They're either along the southern edge or they pushed west. So that'll help us locate them next turn. Okay, there's no combat. We just go straight to the air return phase, and the Allied side will just land both their combat air patrols for this portion of the daylight hours. Back onto the Yorktown. There we go. Okay. And the Japanese will return the scout, their scout, to the operations card. And we can go to either Leh or Rabaul, but we're going to actually go to Rabaul. There's a reason for that. We need to start getting these scouts cleared out. Yeah, I'll show you why in the next turn, which we're going to go into right now. Okay, so the air return phase is complete. Almost forgot the combat air patrol for the Japanese again. There's no task force reorganizations. There's no sub-attack possibilities, so we'll roll right into turn 4 of May 5th. So first we're going to roll a dice for the Allied side to see who's side A, side B. This is where it starts to get very interesting. So the Allied side rolls a 7 and the Japanese side rolls a 10. So the Japanese will be side A. On turn 4. Okay. Okay, we go straight into the assembly step for the Japanese. And on this turn, we're not quite ready to launch a carrier airstrike. I'm very confident as a Japanese player we can locate these task forces, but we're still not close enough or quite in position, so it's a little premature. We'll probably have the major battle on the following day, but we want to use this time to get into better position. So what we're going to do is improve our position as the Japanese. And main way we're going to do that is by launching anything that doesn't have a range of 9 and get them out of Rabaul. So the capacity of Leh is 6. So we're going to clear out the scouts, which they need to move out to do scouting anyway. So we'll launch all scouts. Then we're going to launch into the normal strike box everything that doesn't have a range of 9. So to both fighter groups, all 3 bomber groups, and even this half fighter squadron. It's got Elim on the back. Whoa. Yeah, he'll go too. That should be, we just don't want to bust the capacity. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Yep. Yep. So they're going to move up closer to the combat area. We know that the Allied fleet is sort of tethered to this area, so we're going to put them at a more relevant base. And since the damage is going to be fully repaired by the end of the night, it's safe and sound tactics to do this. So they're going to launch out this turn. And then, of course, we will launch a combat air patrol over our carrier task force. Okay, so now we'll do the Allied assembly step, and the response to this is going, now that we've seen what the Japanese are and are not doing, we are going to we're going to launch a pair of scouts, the scouts that we made from the previous turn. We're now officially going to go out and risk having a look to see where the enemy carriers might be. This is where we definitely want to start being concerned about Japanese carrier locations. So we're going to start rotating our scouts out just as much as our fighters have been rotating in combat air patrol. Okay, and we're only going to launch a single combat air patrol. And that's because we're going to join the fleets now. Okay. So we'll do very quickly, we'll do the Japanese ready step. So now we're just going to move you into the ready box. And the scout that flew last turn into the ready box. And then on the Allied side, we'll do the same thing. Sort of do-si-do, everybody. Get them pushed through. Okay. Okay, task force. Now we get to move our task forces, I should say. So the Japanese will move G5 to H5, knowing, again, we're relatively safe, given that the U.S. player was not. The closest they could be is H9. Okay. And here we go to the Allied board. Whoops, my bad, wrong one. What am I doing here? Here we are. And yeah, now we're going to go ahead and combine the fleets. And this is, we're going to start pushing forward a little bit. We're going to move into H10 like this for the time being. Still 2 fleets, but we are protected by our combat air patrol. When the scout planes come, our combat air patrol should hopefully do its job. And technically, yeah, now I notice that we are within range of each other. So if you're not playing solitaire, this could have been there was a potential for both sides to strike each other. The Allied side would only have been in range to launch dive bombers, but the Japanese side would have been dive bombers and fighters. Oh, and they would have been able to launch everything. Yeah, because the Japanese have a range superiority. Very important. So we start with the Japanese air operations phase, and we're going to start, of course, with the scouts first. So since we know they didn't come north, we're going to have the patrol planes out of Leh search the western area first. So we know that they must be within 3 hexes of these last reported contact positions. So we want to start by searching D9, D10, D11, and then sort of searching back and forth until we find them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'd start calling them out here. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's nothing here. So we send the next patrol plane out. We'll use a shorter range. Should we use a shorter range? Yeah, it might be interesting. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So we've searched this block of ocean and there's nothing. And finally, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and bingo. We get something at 9. The Japanese player declares their intent to search the hex, or doesn't even, it's sort of automatic. But the American player declares there's a combat air patrol, rolls a d10, they roll a 9. Here we go, a 1 through 3, and this Japanese scout is shot down. No! They escape again! Boy, these Japanese scouts must be packing nitrous. So they get away. So we'll convert the 2 remaining movement points to a search pattern there. Actually, no, we won't. Let's just mark it, and then this is 2 points left. Yeah, so we'll go 10, 11, and we find nothing and nothing. Or actually, sorry, we should roll first. We're not going to spend any. We need to roll the d10. We roll a 9, we just get daylight, so that's a 12. The Allied side rolls a 2. Oof, so we automatically get all the information. We still have movement points left over. But it doesn't matter because we know, oh, whoops, I shouldn't have. The Allied player has to declare that 2 fleets are in this hex, and they give us their exact composition. So the Japanese scored a major intelligence win there on the cheap. So there's no reason to really do anything else, but we still got to push this last scout out. We'll have them close the distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and he'll hold station there. And all these will go to patrol because next turn is going to be a vital turn. We want to make sure we provide our flat tops with accurate information because we're more than likely going to have an exchange in the next turn. At least it seems that way at the moment. Finally, with our scouting finished, we have to declare where this fighting group will go. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're not attacking anything. Obviously, nothing's in range. Okay, so that concludes the Japanese air operations phase. We'll go to the Allies side. And the Allies actually do have some I mean, if I wasn't playing solitaire, this is where there'd be the American player, the Allied player might be feeling very anxious. Whoops. Because, you know, we don't know, we especially don't know what's going on out there. Since we're playing solitaire, we do, but this is our first look out in a while. In fact, I might not be playing this the best way. It might be a good idea to just have done this out of the gate and constantly have 2 scouts out and 2 scouts in. So you're constantly keeping an eye out around your task force. The vital areas are, as the Allied player, are the China Strait. We've got to send, and we've got to go look up there. We just have to, because if the Allied is, or the Axis, excuse me, if the Japanese player has been playing an aggressive strategy, those transports could be plodding along and be in this area. So that's where we're going to send them both. So we're going to 1, 2, 3. Searching the whole time because there's no need not to. The Japanese have an exact pin on us. 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's just clear all the way through. So although we didn't capture any information, we do get the fact that there's nothing in there, and that's vital. Okay, so there's nothing in the immediate area here. So next turn our scouts will shift more to the center or to the northeast there, to the north-northeast area. Okay. Okay, so we get to the air return phase, and all of these patrol planes are going to patrol side. Definitely want to keep the location of these American fleets pinned. And these units are going to drop into Leh base, and they'll be much more effective from here. Oops. Okay. So now Leh has a robust air force. We put them right into the arming box. All the scouts are out on patrol. We bring the Shoho's fighters down out of rotation. They drop into their own arming box. And that's it. Okay, so air return for the Allies. We are just going to pull the combat air patrol down and drop them into the Lexington, and then both scouts are going to come straight back. Again, these cannot patrol, unfortunately, for the Allied side. So they'll drop in like that. And finally, the Allies are going to combine these fleets. So, okay, so we're folding up into Task Force 11. Oops. Let's get rid of the Task Force 16. Okay, so there we go. We're ready for. Looks like we're going to get both sides may or may not get a chance to clobber the other next turn. So stick around. Let's see what happens. Actually, here I'll jump into the next turn a little bit so we can kind of prepare the groundwork. So the Japanese side will roll first. Oh, actually, let's move the turn markers on both sides. And let's have the Japanese roll first as they were side A, and then the Allied side. Okay, so the Allies are going to be side A, which can be very crucial. It could have been it, but let's see. Yeah, and you might be wondering, well, you know, you could use the free roll marker, but no. First off, the Allies don't have the free roll marker to deploy. We deployed it earlier in the game, and The free roll marker is only applicable to combat roles, not administrative roles, and this is administrative, so it doesn't work. Okay, so we will close May 5th with a very likely there will be bloodshed. Yeah, I think so. So thanks for watching this. All the best from the good captain, and hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.